Joan, are the Runaways a sort of skeleton in your cupboard, or don't you mind talking about them these days?
I don't mind talking about the Runaways. I don't like to dwell on the
No.
Runaways, but
But everybody's
it doesn't.
interested in your previous history,
Yeah, it doesn't
obviously,
bother me. No,
because it
no,
was
no.
a sort of very stormy part in your career. There's a sort of a blank before the Runaways. Nobody really knew what you did previous to that. Can you fill me in by your musical history before the Runaways?
Well, I didn't really do anything, to tell you the truth. I was in school. I was in high school, like every other kid, and around the age of 12 or 13, I can't remember exactly. I think it was 12. I was going through all my fads that you go through as a little kid, and I was now in the I'm gonna play electric guitar stage, and it was right before Christmas, and so I asked my parents, will you get me an electric guitar? And they got me an electric guitar, and I drove them crazy on Christmas Day because I had no idea how to play it at all, and I just made noise. I mean, because that was like almost the day, I was listening to Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that, so you could get all those sounds. But I took guitar lessons for about a month, and I was very impatient because all the guy would teach me was folk music, and I wanted to learn rock and roll. I was saying, teach me rock and roll now.
It's very difficult to find teachers who will teach you rock and roll. Everybody will teach you classical and folk and anything else, but rock and roll had the same problem, actually.
I think it has to do with first, I was so I wanted to learn. I thought you could learn in 1 week how to play. I didn't realize you had to go through all the, learning how to play the chords, and he was, the exercises and then playing on top of Old Smoky. I just couldn't bear it. So I quit. But I had learned the basic chords, the open E chords and A chords, D chords, basic bar chords. And I went home and played with my records. With my records, I'd plug in my amplifier, turn it down nice and low, and pick, all sorts of different styles, from the early 70s British glitter music to Black Sabbath and, bands like Grand Funk, American bands like that. I used to play the Chuck Berry records and anything that I was buying at the time, which was a lot of stuff, whatever was coming out.
How old were you when Kim Fowley approached you to be in the Runaways?
I approached him.
Did you?
Yeah, I told him that I played guitar and I wanted to form an all-girl band.
Because it was you that was instrumental in getting the band together,
yes,
really, wasn't
myself, the drummer Sandy West, and Kim Fowley. Yeah, because Sandy and I, even though we didn't know each other, and Sandy West lived in South Los Angeles, a place called Huntington Beach, and that's a good hour's drive from where I lived, and we did not know each other, but for some, it must be fate or something, but we ran into Kim Fowley within a period of 3 days of each other. I ran into him first and told him I played guitar and I wanted to form an all-girl band, and he gave me the standard, record business rap about, well, do you have any demo tapes and what bands have you been in? And I had not been in any bands, and I told him I was pretty, inexperienced completely in the music business, but I wanted to be in a rock and roll band, preferably, in an all-girl band, because it hadn't been done before. Well, really, the way I saw it, it hadn't been really done. I mean, you have Fanny and bands like that, but it wasn't like what I wanted it to be.
Susie Quattro was around about that time, wasn't
Oh,
she?
yes, she was a heavy influence.
Yeah, I was going to say she must have been, because a lot of people sort of immediately think of the comparison between the two of you, the leather and the rock and all that sort of business.
Well, there is. I mean, if you really try and compare, if you really make an honest comparison, we're not alike at all.
Why did the group not last, the Runaways? What went wrong, really?
Well,
personality differences?
Well, no, not so much. It was more or less, first of all, the realization by ourselves that, here we were 19 years old, we were 20 years old, it was 1978, and we were starting to realize people aren't going to take us seriously. This is not working. It was like all of a sudden we weren't 16 and 17, and all the bad press and all the lack of, good press and the lack of, any sort of hits, and the total lack of concern by all the, the record companies that we were signed to around the world.
So you petered out through lack of interest?
Yeah, I mean, we just sort of almost said, well, this is not going to work. And we all realized it, and a couple of the other girls, the drummer Sandy and the guitar player Lita Ford, wanted to go in a much heavier direction, and I didn't want to really commit myself to going one way or the other. I wanted to stay mainstream.
What are Lita and Sandy doing these days?
I think they've got their own bands, and Lita's got her own band and Sandy has her own band, but I don't know if they have record deals or if they're just playing the club circuits or what.
Because I always thought that both of them were excellent at the particular instruments that they chose. Women have always had to struggle to be accepted in rock and roll. To be taken seriously is much harder if you're female. Would you agree?
To me, yes, because everyone does tend to look at the fact that you're a girl first, you know, and I'm not a feminist flag waver, women's liber type person, because I feel I don't need any sort of movement behind me to make me a person, and I'll do what I want to do whenever. But it's really, I've seen a real big change, especially, for instance, in the audiences. I mean, before in the Runaways, it was 99% male all the time in every country, no matter where we went, except for Japan. Now, where the females are looked on as more of a second-class citizen. And when the Runaways went there in 1977, I mean, at least half the audience were girls. And it was like they were looking up to us and like we were their big sisters. Now in the United States, with the Blackhearts, it's like half the audience is also girls. And they want to rock. They're rowdy. They're on top of their boyfriend's shoulders going, "Come on, Joan, play that guitar." I mean, they're really into seeing a girl playing a guitar as opposed to a guy. It's like it's something they want to do. They want to form bands. They ask me how to do it. Is it hard?
So there's quite a lot of responsibility on your shoulders to sort of lead the way.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, a lot of girls, I mean, there's many different ways you can go. You know, you can go a much softer direction or very much pop direction, but a lot of girls seem like they want to play in some good old hard rock and roll.
Do you remember the last time you played Leeds University?
I think so. I think I do.
I was actually there in that concert because before the gates opened, and the Runaways weren't particularly well known in this country. The rumour had spread in the music press that there was an all-girl band, and the queue at the door was amazing. As soon as they opened the doors, the place was absolutely packed with, as you say, sort of 99% fellas, and it was a really sweaty gig.
And 999 opened for us, I think.
It was I can't remember the name of the one. You might be right, actually.
Yes.
Maybe somebody can correct us on this.
Yeah,
but
maybe somebody knows.
it was a time when I wasn't going to many gigs. It really opened my eyes to to rock and roll, especially to women, and I don't think I've experienced anything like it since.
Well, that's one thing that you know, people, when they say, "Do you look back on the Runaways with regret?" or "Why did you get in a band with all guys?" And it's because I think the Runaways were very important, and I have not seen anybody come along since that has duplicated the feelings. I mean, when I don't listen to the Runaways a lot,
Yeah.
but like occasionally, you know, if I see these odd put out, you know, a record company will stick, now they've got the best of the Runaways or something, Joan Jett and the Runaways, I think it's called, and when I listen back to that stuff, it takes me right back, like to when I was 17. And
Does it make you cringe?
no, it doesn't make me cringe. It makes me just think about, you know, I mean, the reality. I mean, everyone thinks, you know, that the Runaways were manufactured and this and told what to say and told what to wear, and it's not true. I mean, it takes me right back to when I was 17 and 18 and living on the streets of Hollywood and making my own living, and it just really, it brings back really good memories, not bad ones, good ones.